Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for joining us on the BIN. This year has been extremely challenging for you in New York City, and I hope to cover about three main areas, which includes the migrant crisis, homelessness, and crime. And if we have time, I hope to ask a question about education and your push for dyslexia education, dyslexia screening. That's something that I think is close to your heart, so I really want to hopefully get to that. But first, I'm touching on the migrant crisis because this is a very big issue across the country. New York City seems to be having a very difficult time getting their arms around this. You recently called for changes to sanctuary city laws that currently help or protect migrants in New York. First, do you think that New York City should continue being a sanctuary city, or should they scrap that altogether?
Thank you. I want to start at the top. First of all, thank you for allowing me to be on, your program. But you stated that this has been a difficult year. When I signed up to run for office, become the mayor, I must have communicated with a number of mayors, read probably 20, 30 books on mayors and presidents. And so I walked into office knowing that there will be challenges. This is the most important city on the globe. And as my mother said, this is what you sign up for. So, don't complain. You climb the top of the mountain, don't complain at the view. And I'm ready for it. I thank God every day that I'm in this position, these challenging times, cycling out of COVID and now dealing with another crisis. Rarely does a mayor have two major crises of this magnitude. But look at what we have done and what we continue to do. And so when you look at the fact, Esther, we received 180,000 migrants and asylum seekers, 1.5 the size of Albany, dropped into our city without any warning and without any support. It cost us $4 billion. The federal government is only looking to give us about $150 million, and they're making that difficult, such as how they're reimbursing us. They want to reimburse us only $13 for a hotel room. Where do you get a hotel room for $13 in New York City? And so we had to come up with a real plan. Once we saw the cavalry was not coming, our plan was, how do we get people on the next step of their journey, their American journey? And that's what we did. Out of that 180,000, over 100,000, we became allowed to be self-sustaining. We gave them intense care, showed them how to find out their way, like many of our ancestors had to do. And we've done something that no other administration in any municipality has done. And so when you look at the sanctuary city aspect of it, what I am saying to New Yorkers and my colleagues in the city council, that we used to have a sanctuary city law that said if a person is accused of a serious crime, you can collaborate with ICE. It was changed under the previous mayor, under Mayor de Blasio, that stated that no matter what a person does, you can never collaborate with ICE to identify this person. I'm saying if a person is known to have committed a crime, after they serve their time, we should collaborate and communicate with ICE, because we didn't allow people to come here and be a privilege to be in our city to carry out repeated acts of violence. And many of those acts of violence are on communities of color and on fellow migrants. That does not make sense to me. And that is what I believe we need to modify our sanctuary city law for.
It doesn't seem like the city council is supporting that because many are saying that it does not due process. What do you say to that?
Well, as I stated, what I just articulated is after the person serves their time. I don't think they should be deported prior to serving their time, because then they're going to just go to their country and come back and do it again. So I said after they serve their time. That's due process, because you don't serve time unless you went through the criminal justice system and was determined to be innocent or guilty. And so I say, let us give them the due process. And if they're found guilty, they should serve their time for the actions that they did. We had one person who shot at a police officer, who punched a store clerk in the face. And the next day when they came out, they went and committed another crime. We can't have these cycles of criminality in our city, because it impacts everyday people. You know, it's really interesting, Esther, I just did a notification this morning on one of the talk shows. We had 38 people who assaulted transit employees. Those 38 people had over 1,100 crimes in our city they committed. 38 people some of them were arrested 100 times, 40 times, 50 times. And that's the same with some of the shoplifting you're seeing. We have 500 and I think around about 72 people, somewhere in that area, that were arrested over 7,600 times in our city. This is just unfair to everyday New Yorkers, and we deserve better as a city.
I guess I'll go back to my first question, though. Do you think that New York City should continue to be a sanctuary city, or should they scrap that completely altogether?
No, and they should. I believe the concept of a sanctuary city is a good concept. It has been placed since the Koch years. And when it's used correctly, our immigrant group, the diversity of our city, they contribute to the fabric and the energy of this city. During COVID, when I was out there giving out masks, talking to New Yorkers, it was the immigrants that was holding this down for us. Go to our hospital. The majority of nurses come from first and second generation immigrants, the food service workers, those who were delivering food. When you look at all of these different entities that allowed us to stay open and operate in the city, it was the immigrant population. We don't want to harm people who come here and say, I want to pursue the American dream. We want to make sure those people who are turning that dream into a nightmare don't continue to do that to not only migrants and asylum seekers and immigrants, but don't do it to longstanding New Yorkers. I don't care if you came from down south or South America. You should not be abusive to the people of this city. It's a right to be here in the city and in this country.
One of the biggest complaints that I've heard about your administration is finding places for migrants to go. And last check, there's a 30-day limit on how long migrants can actually stay in a location, and then they have to leave. And recently there was a report about a dozen African migrants living on a 2-floor furniture warehouse, sleeping on cots in shifts. Are you finding that the limits perhaps are forcing migrants to places like this or out on the streets again, or is that a misconception?
No, not at all. And let's break that down for a moment because it's so important. And that was part of the misconception. You and I both know, if you're a longtime New Yorkers, you know there's always illegal conversions of apartments. This didn't start with the migrants and asylum seekers. You know, people have illegally converted apartments and exploited people for a long time. So one, we have a serious vacancy problem in the city. We have a 1% vacancy rate, particularly around affordable housing. That's why I'm pushing to tell the state lawmakers and the city council, we have to build more. New Yorkers are having a difficult time to find housing. They have 10,000 vouchers in their hands and they cannot find a housing to live in. And so this crisis has created the lack of housing. Then you have people who exploit situation. The landlord that had those 2 locations, he was getting paid $300 a month. He was making upward to $300,000 a year. He exploited the situation. The FDNY, DSNY went in and looked at what they were doing and made the proper notification. But here's the big national problem. Why aren't we letting them work? What is more anti-American than coming to this country and being told you can't work, no matter how menial the job is? That allows you to start your step to the American journey. And for the national government to have people here, allow them into the country and don't let them work, that just makes no sense. So we're not creating the problem. We're saying to single adults, you have 30 days. We're going to give you support. We're going to give you intense care. We're going to give you all the support you need. But this is not permanent. New Yorkers cannot say you can come anywhere on the globe and stay in New York for as long as you want, eat for free, house for free, everything you want for free. That's unfair to everyday taxpaying New Yorkers who every day get up and find their way in the city. It's hard on everyone, and we don't believe it's healthy for a child to grow up in a homeless environment, and we don't believe that New York taxpayers should be picking up the cost for as long as someone wants that.
Why do you think that the DC has not afforded any help, well, the help that you're looking for in helping those who want to work that are migrants to work?
I think they really underestimated the magnitude of this problem. And when you see the exploitation of Governor Abbott and what he did, he targeted Esther, he sent migrants and asylum seekers to Chicago, to Houston, to Los Angeles, to New York, to Washington. What do they all have in common? All Black mayors, all mayors of color, Boston, all mayors of colors, destabilizing our cities. And then it turns your voting block into, hey, mayor, why aren't you stopping this? No one knows that as the mayor, I don't have the legal authority to stop the buses from coming in. Only the federal government can do that. I don't have the legal authority to deport anyone. Only the federal government can do that, and the city government don't allow me to coordinate with ICE. I don't have the legal authority to allow people to work. I can't even allow them to volunteer and give them a stipend. The federal government won't allow me to do that. And so I'm required to feed, clothe, house, and educate without money coming from the federal government. And people look at their mayor and say, well, mayor, why are you allowing this to happen? What we have done, no other city has done. You don't see one child or family sleeping on the street. We have navigated this challenge with the level of expertise that international leaders are looking at the city and saying, we don't know how New York did it. We did it because I have some qualified people that is able to manage these difficult situations.
It's funny, just a few weeks ago, you mentioned it right now, that you felt like you were under the microscope because you are a Black mayor with a very diverse administration. You even made reference to the Bible, saying that, you felt persecuted like Jesus. But some understood where you were coming from. Others felt very critical of your words. Do you, I guess, regret the way you expressed your feelings, or do you stand by that?
No, I don't regret. Listen, I am an authentic mayor. I'm not going to go out and take a Gallup poll or try to let people stay in the comfort zone. We become so politically correct nowadays that we are incorrect. I'm going to be honest with New Yorkers. And when you do an analysis of this administration, of what I ran on, I produce. I ran on making our city safe. We're seeing that. Crime is down, double-digit decrease in shootings, homicide, 5 of our 7 major crime categories. We left 2023 with our subway system being safer. I ran on education. We're doing dyslexia screening for all of our babies so they don't end up on Rikers Island because they believe they're dumb, like I felt I was. We are outpacing the state in reading and writing because of what Chancellor Banks is doing. I ran on recovering our jobs. We have more private sector jobs in the history of the city right now. I said, I bring back tourism, 62 million tourists, almost the 4th largest we've had in the city of New York. The bond raters that analyze how well a mayor manages a city, they raised our bond rating in my years in office, and they stated that we are making smart, tough decisions. And so there's going to be people that's going to say, well, Eric, you don't fit the mold. You don't look like, talk like, walk like, act like what we believe a mayor should be. Well, it took 30 years before we had our first Black mayor. Now we have a second Black mayor, and I am comfortable in my skin, and I'm comfortable in my communication. And sometimes when you're comfortable, other people feel discomfort.
Do you plan to again run for mayor 2025?
As long as the people will have me, and as long as God wants me. It's about finding your purpose and fulfilling your purpose. And I'm not going to judge my success on re-election. I'm going to judge my success. What did I do while I'm here? Everything from MWBEs to dealing with Black unemployment, to dealing with the issues of all this hate we're seeing in our city, to make sure that we can do things for young mothers in foster care. I have a real mission and agenda. And so some people would judge themselves, well, were you reelected? No, I'm judging myself. What did I do when I was elected? That is what I want to judge. And then the next level, I'm happy and waiting for it. Every new level is a new devil. You got to be prepared for it as it comes. I have a great career, a great life, and I want to continue to have the joy that life has brought me.
I know this is a very difficult question, especially given the fact that you're very enthusiastic and want so much for the city. There has been at least 2 investigations by the FBI. Is this making it more, I guess, difficult for your administration to do their job?
Yeah, and no, and there is never a difficult question. Trust me, you could ask. I'm an open book. Honesty is the key to my success. Everyone knows I have one quote: "Stay focused, no distractions, and grind." Reviewers of my actions as a candidate, it's up to them to do their job. My job is to navigate the city out of the crisis. I live by the rule: follow the law. I did it as a police officer, as a state senator, as a borough president, and now as the mayor. I will continue to say that. I sleep well at night because I'm clear that no one will be able to say this mayor did something that was inappropriate, because I believe in following the law. And, you know, those who review allegations, they have to do their job. I'm going to collaborate with them, turn over whatever information they need, because I am comfortable in how I live my life, and I believe in following the law.
Well, I have a last question because I'm running out of time. I know education is very near and dear to your heart. You've openly shared your struggle with dyslexia as a young person. And you said that you really wanted to make a difference for those who are kids in school, in New York City schools. However, there are real problems, not just in New York City, but across the country, and having enough teachers that really can teach on this level of special education. They have that kind of training. What is the city doing to try to get their arms around this, getting the teachers in place, and helping with those who are special needs?
Well, we clearly, you know, I sat down during the campaign trail a couple of years ago when I was our president, and I was in a room with a bunch of gang members and those who really they have fallen on the wrong side of the law. And I asked them to raise their hand if they have a learning disability or dyslexia, ADD, or any other. 80% of the room raised their hands. Our young people are going on the wrong pathway because they feel as though they can't be placed on the right pathway because of the failures in education. I felt as though I was a dumb student. I felt as though I couldn't learn. And, you know, that's where my trouble came from, that I went to the streets and got arrested as a child because I didn't get the support that I needed. And so Chancellor Banks, from Hispanic-based reading program to finally teach our young people how to read the correct way, to our dyslexia screening, to even doing something that's giving our children breathing exercises so that they can learn how to manage their emotion, meditation, yoga, mindfulness, because our young people have to be not only academically intelligent, but they must be emotionally intelligent. You and I know that managing our emotion is going to be the biggest challenge you will have in life. And so we have been clear on the things that we want to do. And it's so important to make sure that not only do we ask more for our teachers, but we do more for them. When I settled my union contracts, one of the contracts I'm proud of was a UFT contract with our teachers and our school supervisors. We gave them the salaries they deserve because we're expecting more from them. So we need to give them the contracts they need so they can do their job. We're leaning into education and holistic to develop the full personhood of our children, healthy eating, mindfulness development, academic achievement, identifying those children who are in needs, not leaving anyone behind. And we're also leaning into the tech training of teaching our children some of the tech jobs that are available out there, and some of the other jobs, being a carpenter, being a plumber, being an electrician. Those are good jobs. We made people think that if you didn't go to college, you were a failure. But you know what? My plumber drives a Porsche. That doesn't sound like a failure to me.
Well, it was a pleasure. I appreciate all of your time. Thank you so much, Mayor Eric
you.
Adams, for joining us on the BIN.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care.